Springboks at the summit. Why Rassie Erasmus is building a team to beat itself. There is a question that always emerges when a team reaches the very top of its sport. It is not the question most people expect, that it is not, who can beat them. The real question is far more dangerous: how do they avoid beating themselves? Right now, the Springboks sit at that rarefied altitude. Under the leadership of Rassie Erasmus, South Africa have established themselves as the dominant force in world rugby. And as of March 2026, there is little on the horizon that appears capable of unsettling them. Some may interpret that as arrogance. But in reality, it is a reflection of the truth. While other nations have been preoccupied with debates about selection, coaching structures, or attacking styles, South Africa have been quietly building something far more formidable, a system designed not just to win, but to sustain dominance, and the key to understanding this approach lies not in rugby alone, but in history. The Steve Waugh blueprint. To truly grasp what Erasmus is doing, one must look back to Australian cricket in the early 2000s and the leadership of Steve Waugh. Waugh's Australian side reached a level of dominance where traditional competition was no longer enough. They were so superior that opposing teams could no longer push them to improve. And as Waugh understood, stagnation is the enemy of sustained excellence. So he introduced a radical idea: internal competition. Instead of relying on opponents to challenge his team, Waugh created strict, non-negotiable internal standards, benchmarks that every player had to meet regardless of reputation or past success. Some of those standards included: batters had to maintain a strike rate of at least 4 runs per over to remain in contention. Bowlers were required to take wickets at a strike rate of 54 balls or fewer. Any bowler conceding more than 3 runs per over was excluded. The team would always bat first if they won the toss, regardless of conditions. These were not suggestions, they were rules. As a result, players were constantly competing not against the opposition, but against the system itself. Selection was dictated by performance against the standards, not by reputation. This approach ensured that Australia never plateaued. Every training session, every match, and every selection decision was an opportunity to push higher. Erasmus appears to be applying a similar philosophy, only in a rugby context. The Springboks' unmatched depth. South Africa's greatest strength is not just their starting 15, it is the depth that underpins it. The Springbok front row is arguably the most formidable in the history of the game. Players like Ox Ench, Frans Malherbe, Malcolm Marx, and Bongi Mbonambi form the core of a unit that is both powerful and technically elite. Behind them sits an extraordinary pool of talent, established internationals such as Wilco Louw and Thomas du Toit, emerging prospects like Jan Hendrik Wessels, and a pipeline of uncapped or developing players already being monitored for test readiness. In fact, some players, like Sifaseth Nebeleli, have been identified as future prospects even before making their professional debut. This level of foresight and planning is virtually unmatched in international rugby. The result: a system where competition for places is relentless. The Springboks are no longer operating in a world where 1 or 2 injuries can derail a campaign. Their depth is such that even their third-choice players can compete at an elite international level. The alignment camp, a system in motion. The Springboks alignment camps offer a clear window into how this system operates. These camps are not simply training sessions, they are selection environments. In recent gatherings, the squad has included multiple Rugby World Cup winners returning from injury or rest, several junior Springboks being evaluated alongside senior internationals uncapped. Players included purely on merit. Established players like Cameron Hinkham and Sasha Feinbergen-Gomezulu being integrated into leadership discussions. Rising talents such as Evan Roos approaching their peak within the system. The message is clear: no one is guaranteed a place, not even proven performers. This was highlighted by the omission of players like Mbonambi, despite his experience and success. Selection is not based on legacy. It is based entirely on whether a player meets the system standards. A system built on internal competition. Erasmus's Springboks do not rely on external pressure to improve. Instead, they create pressure from within. The system is built around specific performance benchmarks: dominant scrummaging as a baseline expectation, line-out efficiency approaching perfection, defensive systems that function regardless of personnel changes, impact substitutions that elevate, rather than maintain, performance, tactical kicking executed under extreme pressure. If a player cannot meet these standards, they are replaced. It does not matter how experienced they are. This is not a sentimental system, It is a ruthless one. The Nations Championship strategy. The introduction of the new Nations Championship provides Erasmus with the perfect platform to implement this philosophy on a larger scale. South Africa are scheduled to play a demanding series of fixtures, including clashes against England, Scotland, Wales, Italy, France, and Ireland. Erasmus has already indicated that he intends to use a split squad approach. This means 2 different squads across different windows. Greater rotation of players, opportunities for younger players to gain test experience, a deliberate balance between development and performance. Critically, this is not viewed as a risk by Erasmus. It is an opportunity. Rather than relying on opponents to provide competitive pressure, he is using the tournament itself as a controlled environment for testing his players against internal standards. The result is a system where even so-called second-string teams are built to meet elite benchmarks. The Waugh principle in rugby. The connection between Waugh and Erasmus is not accidental. Both coaches understood a fundamental truth: dominance must be engineered, not assumed. For Waugh, the solution was statistical and rigid. For Erasmus, it is structural and physical, but the principle is identical. The goal is to ensure that the team is always improving. Standards are non-negotiable. Selection is ruthless. Complacency is eliminated in both cases. The opposition becomes almost irrelevant. The real challenge lies within the team itself. What this means for World Rugby: France, under Fabien Galthy, remain one of the most exciting attacking teams in the world. Ireland, guided by Andy Farrell, continue to demonstrate exceptional structure and consistency. New Zealand, ever evolving, remain a constant threat. But none of these teams currently appear capable of consistently matching the Springboks' depth and internal intensity, and that is the key difference. South Africa are not simply trying to beat other teams. They are trying to ensure they never lose to themselves. The ultimate reality at this stage, there is one conclusion that stands out above all others: the only team that can truly beat the Springboks is the Springboks themselves, and Rassie Erasmus has built an entire system designed to prevent exactly that. The split squad strategy, the alignment camps, the ruthless selection policy, everything feeds into one overarching goal: sustained dominance. This is not a gamble. It is the next evolution of international rugby, and if history is any guide, the rest of the rugby world would be wise to pay attention, because what Erasmus is building is not just a team. It is a machine, and it is still getting stronger.